Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Karens. In today's episode, Karen doesn't realize I'm a citizen, tries to enslave wife and I with fake debts. Karen of the 51A. Chicago Karen decided to almost commit a crime. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Karen doesn't realize I'm a citizen, tries to enslave wife and I with fake debts. Story about somebody much more well off than I expecting me to meet their financial obligations while demanding that I falsify medical paperwork and commit insurance fraud while withholding pay. Basically, my wife and I had just immigrated back to the US and needed jobs and a place to stay. We thought we'd struck gold when a fabulously wealthy woman hired myself as a groundskeeper and maintenance guy and my wife as a cook and maid for her elderly parents. The pay was low, but part of it involved being able to live rent-free in the second house on the estate. The elderly couple were extremely senile, but still the sweetest old folks you can imagine. It was a really nice property, so for a few months everything was great. Then about 3 months in, my wife noticed the pantry, which was itself bigger than our living room, was not being restocked by the grocery delivery company that normally did these things. We contacted our employer, who flew into a rage that managing that sort of thing was our responsibility, so she had canceled the delivery service without telling us. It became apparent that she fully expected us to notice and take care of it ourselves. When I asked her how she expected us to buy groceries for her parents when she didn't even tell us she had canceled the service, she became extremely irate. Direct quote, "Then why do I sign a check to each of you every week for?" Yeah. She earnestly thought we should be using our personal paychecks, which were not very big, to pay for her parents' upkeep. After much deliberation, she grudgingly left us a credit card to go out and buy groceries for her parents, which added to our workload at no extra pay, but we didn't have anywhere else to stay and no other job lined up, so we just dealt with it. Well, another few months go by and she contacts us again. She wants us to sign something. The paperwork shows up and it's requests for medical documentation from an insurance company. The chick wants us to attach our timesheets to it, sign it, and send it back to the insurance company. Well, I read it and it becomes apparent she has elder care insurance to pay for live-in nursing services and has told them we are nurses so she can try to get them to pay our wages. I contact her and inform her that we have not provided medical care, are not licensed to, and will not fill out the paperwork. Mother of all shitstorms. Karen goes nuts, screaming into the phone about how much she has done for us and we owe her, how she will report that we are neglecting her parents, and then call immigration on us and have us deported. I don't think she ever realized I am a citizen and my wife immigrated legally. I tell her that what she is asking us to do is fraud, and that I'd rather get fired than arrested for a felony. I tell her she has 90 days to find a replacement for us and we will be moving out. Things devolve into her screaming about how much money she has and how she is besties with the cops and has a bunch of expensive lawyers to sue me with. I suggest she asks one of those lawyers how they feel about defending her for insurance fraud and hang up. My wife and I continue our services for the old folks while looking for a new place, because they were actually super nice and the situation wasn't their fault. They were also very senile, mistaking us for other people they knew, forgetting they had kids, etc., so they can't be held accountable for their daughter's behavior as they lack any ability to intervene. Then, instead of a paycheck, I get a bill for the last 8 months of rent and a note that she isn't paying our wages until we pay her back for everything we owe her. Plus interest. She had valued the rent of the second house provided in our contract at more than she paid us monthly, so we'd never actually be able to pay it off. Yeah. She actually tried to make us into indentured servants. So, without responding, I continue performing my duties, studiously keeping logs on our hours, and retaining all the receipts for how much more we owed her. 90 days go by without a paycheck. We purchased groceries using the card she provided, which she added to our debts. We document everything. About a week before the 90-day, we contact 2 government agencies. First, the State Department of Labor to report exploitation. Second, Adult Protective Services to inform them that an elderly couple that requires caretaking are going to no longer have caretakers and that their daughter has refused to provide it. Then we call her and inform her she is going to be receiving some phone calls from these agencies shortly and should probably contact her attorney. There was about a 60-second dead silence on the phone, then hysterical laughter, and she hung up. Okay. Not the response I expected, but *CK it, one more week and we're gone. 8 hours later she shows up in the driveway, in a rental car. She bought a one-way plane ticket to come out to the estate and report us to the cops for trespassing on the property. This, of course, doesn't work because we have a tenancy contract, and if she wants us gone she has to utilize the legal eviction process. She then tries to claim we are illegal aliens, which a quick glance in our wallets at our IDs by the cops proves false. She is starting to shriek at them about if they know who she is or how expensive her lawyers are. The cops look that unique combination of irritated and amused that cops dealing with some dumb shit they aren't allowed to comment on get an advisor not to talk to us or attempt to enter or go near the guest house. She moves into their house that night and presumably takes over our duties. I would go out on the balcony every day for the week before I left to drink my coffee, and smile as I stared across the big, luxurious lawn to see her standing in the picture window, arms crossed, glaring death at me. To make a long story short, the expensive lawyer she is convinced her to pay our back wages with additional interest for violating state labor laws by withholding them. Turns out trying to enforce actual slavery is still illegal after all, who knew? See? Her expensive lawyer can do their job perfectly. And she gets to pay for that privilege too. Exactly. A good lawyer is counsel and advises the client how to behave in their best interests, not an intellectual thug you can just sick on people. Thank you for telling your story. Not everyone knows their rights. Your story proves that having money and being a bully doesn't always work. My hope is that someone reading this will realize it shouldn't work in their lives either. She should have gone to jail. Elder abuse and neglect for not providing in-home care added to the other fraudulent stuff. Ah ha 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 ha, brilliant. I do love a happy ending. Wow, what a story. What a piece of work she is. Glad it all ended well. She is probably going to owe money for SS wages she failed to withhold and pay. Karen of the 51A. Board the bus home from work, see a seat in back and head to the back of the bus and there's Karen with her shit strewed across 3 seats as she's glued to her phone. After I get no response from her when asked to sit down I pick up one of her items off the seat and hand it to her. Karen begins yelling at me for the entire bus to hear "you don't touch other people's shit," and then she calls me as stupid. I don't respond. Karen moves her shit off the seat so I can sit down feeling like everyone on the bus is staring at me, including the driver who watches this go down in the rearview mirror. I almost in tears, and though I was going to lose my shit. So a couple minutes later Karen uses the indicator to signal the driver to stop at the next stop. Karen gets up, grabs her shit and starts to make her way to the front of the bus. As the bus slows the driver begins to pump the brakes in a way that unsettles Karen and an expression of terror hits her face as she begins frightfully staggeringing down the aisle towards the door. Once the bus finally stops for Karen she stumbles off, giving the driver a look as if he was pumping the brake intentionally. Once Karen's gone the driver looks right at me in the rear view and smiles. It was awesome. Karen gets brake checked. Bus driver knew the Karen needed a little reminder on whose bus it was. Honestly, she's kind of lucky he didn't stop at the next bus stop. Though to be fair that's likely get him into trouble over her ego, and the stutter braking is normal. Now that I'm older I tend to lose my shit. When I was younger, I would have been much like you and almost bawled my eyes out. But now, having lived the larger portion of my life, I'm a little more straightforward about my feelings and have the ability to articulate them. I can't imagine treating anyone the way she did, and I apologize for the inconsiderate and ugly way she treated you. The bus driver is a hero in my book. If you know his schedule, maybe the next time you ride, you can bring him some donuts or something. In the moment, you probably could have easily misread the expression in the other passenger's eyes while they were staring at you. Most likely, it was more of a mix of a look of sympathy for you and total disgust for Karen. Driver would have gotten in trouble for this, but it would have been absolutely perfect if Karen had face planted in the aisle. Chicago Karen decided to almost commit a crime. Yesterday, I had an experience that can be described as idiotically dangerous. So, I am going home from work after what I would call a pretty smooth day of no yelling or stress. I get on the train and this woman in a green shirt and glasses got mad at me for sitting close to her and lightly bumping her by mistake. I'm in the wrong, so I give her space and say sorry. Nothing happens for the ride, but realize I had the urge to pee. I knew there was a Wendy's on the way home. I get off and go to it. The same woman from before was chatting on her phone to her friend, I suppose. She talked about me to her friend on the train. I pay it no mind, but when we got outside, she oddly got defensive and accused me of following her. She stops and tried to follow me, saying she wants to call the cops. She also said I lightly bump her again when I didn't this time. The real stupidity from this person though was stopping and following me, though acting like I was some creep. She called me one to boot. I couldn't have this person following me. I try telling her where I'm going to get her off my back. She doesn't listen. I decide to fake record her to get her to move. I got her to move and I decided to celebrate with a little bit of singing of Nana Hey Hey Goodbye. Yes, I was doing a little bit of taunting and trolling here. I'll admit that. Now, I get to the intersection that is super busy. Getting ready to cross as this woman decided to go into her bag and get some type of mace or pepper spray. I don't know what it is. This is where she becomes so dumb it's laughable. She announced to me what she is doing. I make a joke of it, but she starts to approach me while screaming, "Get back! Get back!" I legit have to talk her down to prevent from committing assault and possibly an accident. Even some old white dude saw this and stopped to watch her. I even call out to her to stop and tell her someone is watching her commit a possible crime. Thankfully nothing happens and I can cross the street safely. The funniest part of this story is that I start to turn into the Wendy's after she keeps saying I'm following her. I say, "You idiot. I was going to the Wendy's this whole time. You're a moron." She goes silent, realizing she messed up. I go in and use the bathroom, telling the story to some of the staff and security guard as they saw some of it. One of them was coming from break, actually even. I was told by them I should have reported her. I wish I did, but I wasn't thinking in the moment. I'm just happy to be safe. Sharing this with you guys after I posted it on Facebook. This was a pretty insane encounter. Even my mom was floored by what this person was trying to do. She looked around my age too. Karen got lucky. Pulling some shit like that in Chicago? Is she trying to get shot? TBH, sounds like Karen wanted to drag you into some real bad shit, probably wanting to sue you and try squeeze money out of you or something similar. Great to hear that it came out good for you. I don't think so. I think she was going to actively try and bait me into approaching her so she could claim self-defense. The problem is I don't think this idiot realized someone was watching and how what she was doing was going to cause an accident. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.